Jackson Radio Show.
I made a secondary motion that prior to the public release of either memoranda, that the FBI and the Department of Justice have the opportunity to come and brief the entire House in a classified session on both memoranda, on the underlying facts and the underlying materials, so that the committee could make a responsible judgment as to whether the memoranda should be made public. That motion was voted down by the majority. The majority expressed a concern that something in the minority memoranda or otherwise could compromise sources and methods, and for exactly that reason, we asked that both memoranda be vetted by the FBI and the Department of Justice, but that was voted down. I spoke with the director of the FBI earlier this afternoon. He expressed his strong interest in being able to brief our committee prior to any release of these materials about concerns that the Bureau and the Department have. I relayed that interest by the director of the FBI, a appointee of President Trump, to this committee, but that was unavailing. They were not willing to meet with the director of the FBI to hear the Bureau's concerns or the Department's concerns.
All right, everybody, welcome back. That was Adam Schiff giving reasons why we shouldn't be able to see this document. It's a matter of national security. And and it was funny. Chuck Todd interviewed McCarthy, Congressman McCarthy, and he says, why is this going up to the president? Why aren't they sending this over to the FBI? So you want them to send the memo that was generated by the Inspector General, synthesized down by the Republicans with the same information that's in that document, over to the very group that's been targeting the president for the better part of a year and a half. That's the logic. It's unbelievable. So we've got a lot of things at play here. They shouldn't be releasing this FISA document because it's got too many underlying things that the public doesn't understand. And Schiff didn't say that this time because it implied that the public is too stupid. Then he says, no, it really needs to be reviewed for security, the nature of it from a security standpoint. Yeah, sort of like Hillary's emails, right? I mean, suddenly the Democrats care about national security. Then they say, well, we don't want it to go to the president because Chuck Todd said it could end up being obstruction of justice if he has to get involved, which, by the way, that is the process. That's the constitutional process being followed. And all because they don't want this information out. They're afraid of the information out. Nancy Pelosi then goes on to say it's all fake. Here's her clip. We'll play it again.
And what they're putting forth is a total misrepresentation. It is false. And they're putting it out there as if it is factual and then saying, we're going to show this to the American people, but we're not going to show the rebuttal to it by the Democrats. Now, this isn't not to be politicized. This is about fact. It's about evidence, about data. It's not about making up a false memo based on a false premise that the chairman hasn't even read and then to put it out there. Of course not.
Well, then why are they so anxious to release it?
Because it's not even true. It's not even true. They have made up a memo that isn't even true, and they're lying to the American people.
So what are you going to do about it?
False memo based on a false premise that the chairman hasn't even read. Complete nonsense. All information gathered from the very tangled web that the left weaved in order to so-called capture Donald Trump in a web of deceit. And what did they do? It backfired. And now what do they want to do? They want to cover it up. They've got some really interesting tactics. So now what? They got nothing. But they have a new strategy. And I want to share that with you. Adam Schiff says it. Cory Booker says it. 15 people. I could get you 15 clips where they say the same thing. But I want to play Schiff's version of this. Then I want to play Cory Booker. And I want you to hear the abject nonsense that these people are trying to create. Doubt in the American public. And here's what's so sad about it. Not for us. We're beaming. Happy New Year, by the way. conservatives, Republicans, people that listen to the Kevin Jackson Show, we love you. Let me tell you what the problem is, sadly for the Democrats. Nobody believes them. Even the lamestream media is now beginning to turn. So let me let you hear this clip. This is Schiff. No, I don't want to do Booker yet. I want to do Schiff first. So good. Schiff on Trump's intent, I think is what we called it.
I want to get your reaction, to something that Michael Wolff just said on this show, because it's an issue that in a criminal case would be left to a jury, and in an impeachment case would be brought to you. And that is, if there is an obstruction of justice case that is presented to the House of Representatives, and one of the elements of an obstruction of justice case is that the president ordered the firing of Robert Mueller. What Michael Wolff just said is he was saying that all the time. He was saying fire Mueller all the time. I want to fire Mueller all the time. Michael Wolff said it was like wallpaper. And so people around him did not take it seriously. And it might, in the president's mind, never have been a specific order. And since it was never carried out, he may not believe that he ever issued such an order, no matter what people quote him as saying.
Well, apparently Doug McCann took it seriously and was willing to resign rather than carry it out. So this doesn't sound like it was an idle comment. I wouldn't describe this as wallpaper based on what the New York Times and Washington Post and others have reported, but rather a fixation that goes to the president's intent.
Interesting choice of words, given that Hillary Clinton never had any intent with her leaking of the emails and all that other stuff. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. This is such an interesting and laughable theory. If there was anything that I can tell you showcases the level of desperation that the Democrats have right now, it was that clip. And let me explain. You have Ed Schultz interviewing Adam Schiff, MSNBC, and probably one of the worst Democrats, in my opinion, worse than Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi combined, Adam Schiff, on a witch hunt for the presidency, against President Trump. And they reference a book, Michael Wolff's book, Fire and Fury, that has been completely discredited. Michael Wolff has been completely discredited. And Ed Schultz references his book and says, if there is an obstruction of justice case, it would be referred to you, Adam Schiff, of which he has this little smug look on his face. And he says, if the president ordered the firing of Mueller, then would it get to you? And then he says, Wolff says that that's what the president walked around saying. It was like wallpaper. And he goes, this is so funny. So then Schultz goes on to say, it was never taken seriously. It was never carried out. Could it be that he never felt that he issued such an order? And then Schiff comes in and says, well, Doug McCann took it seriously. Let me ask you, audience, without going to Google or anything else, because I'm going to tell you, you can't even spell McCann's name. The way it's spelled, you'd never get it. But anyway, Doug McCann, ever heard the name? Who is he? But Schiff says it as if it's Shakespeare. Well, Shakespeare said, or Da Vinci, or Denzel, right? He makes it sound like this is so authoritarian. Doug McCann took it seriously, so much so he resigned. Okay, so let's get this straight, just so we're clear, because I want to make sure. This is what we shoot for on the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com, clarity. What Schiff and Ed Schultz are trying to say is Mueller, who remains in his job as special counsel, that Donald Trump should be under investigation because he may have uttered, why is Mueller still on the case? This guy should be fired. There's plenty of reasons. He's incompetent. He's looking in the wrong places. He seems to be ignoring all the real evidence. He's part of the collusion. He's certainly, we can make a case that he's part of it. And why hasn't he been fired? If the president even asked that question, well, then it was taken seriously, and that would be obstruction of justice. Doesn't matter that Mueller had. Nobody's acted upon it. Mueller hasn't been fired. Nothing. And quite frankly, it's been everything to the contrary. After all the reasons that Donald Trump has to fire Mueller, you know what he says? And too much to the chagrin of people listening to this program, he said, no, leave him there. Leave him there. He's hiring, but Mr. President Trump, he's hiring a bunch of people that support Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump says, whatever. If that's the way he wants to carry out the investigation, cool. What's happened? What's funny, if you look at the Democrats, nothing makes sense. I mean, I'm telling you, it makes sense in its chaos. It makes sense that these guys are so used to politics as usual working, they don't understand why this doesn't work. And it never will. Obstruction for something that didn't even happen.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.